In this series, I've been showing you 5 truths for better rest. And the truth that we're going to hit in this video, I'm just going to tell you, it's really obvious. And I'm going to tell this to you and you're going to be like, okay, this is so easy. This is so simple. But what I found for me is that sometimes I need people to remind me of what's obvious because sometimes the way I live doesn't reflect it. So the third truth for better rest that we all need to remember is that rest should leave you restored. Good rest leaves you restored. And the reason I need to be reminded of this is because for me, at the end of a long day or at the end of a long week, when I've given it my all and it's time to rest, it's so easy for me to use rest as an excuse to let loose. And there's 2 forms of destructive rest that are easy for me and maybe for you to let creep into your life. And it's good to be aware of these. The first kind of destructive rest is by filling yourself with what is unhealthy. So maybe it's calories at the end of the day, a certain treat, a certain dessert, or even a certain drink. And you say to yourself, I've earned this, I've deserved this. And so you unwind, you let loose, and you say, well, I just need some rest. That's destructive. It's filling your body with what is unhealthy. And what we all know is that the aftermath of that does not leave you restored. The second kind of destructive rest is about emptying yourself of what's useful or spending what you have left in a way that will not leave you restored. A lot of times this refers to how you might spend your time. And when you rest, you spend your time on things. Let's be honest, sometimes we watch one show and it turns into a binge watching session. Sometimes we open up social media just to check a few things, but it turns out being an hour that we spend on it. It's so easy to let ourselves be emptied of what's good, and that's not going to lead to restored rest either. Now, none of the things I just listed in these destructive forms of rest are bad. It's not bad to enjoy a dessert, to enjoy a drink, to watch a show, to go on social media. Those things aren't bad. And so you might ask the question, well, at what point do they become bad? And the only answer to that is a question. Does it leave you restored? And as I think about this whole topic of, making sure that rest leaves you restored, it reminds me of a really cool section from Romans chapter 13, verse 12, where the Apostle Paul talks about the importance of a rest that leaves you restored and not a rest that leaves you vulnerable. In Romans 13, verse 12, he said, "The night is nearly over, the day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light." Even when you've done your work and it's time to rest, even then is not a time to be vulnerable. But rather, he says, let's get armored up. Rest does not leave you more vulnerable or more weak, but rather, rest equips you with the armor of God. It makes you stronger. Good rest leaves you restored. So unhealthy, unwinding will leave you unrested. But refreshing rest will leave you rewound. It will fill you with truth, not lies. It will make you reconnected with people, not isolated from them. And it will lead to recovery and rest, not burnout. So what do you think? Is it time for you to rethink your approach to rest? Or maybe have you been using rest as an excuse to let loose? How about we start changing our unwinding to rewinding? And rather than letting loose, let's think about ways that we can be armored up with the power and hope of God Himself.